Uh, Everybody all set?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for your patience. We'll let Coach start us off on the podium, then we'll go questions in the room. So go ahead, Coach.
All right, so we're real proud of the start we have on our recruiting class for this early signing, and put together what we think are some very good players. Very proud of our coaching staff and the effort that they did in a small period of time to get as many people as we have signed up. I believe we have 19. You can count them yourself. Anyway, Armani Archie, cornerback, 6'1", 175, Vallejo, California, El Cerrito, very fast in a tall corner, and we've got some taller corners in this class. Juvensley Bazil, running back, 5'10", 180, from Naples, Florida. Extremely fast running back, catches the ball out of the backfield well. Interestingly, born in Haiti, but just a high motor guy out there, and fast running back. Bryce Beekman is a safety, 6'2", 190, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Went to Arizona Western. He's 3 for 2. He'll be here at mid-year. And not only is he a big safety, he's getting bigger, and so we think that he's going to develop physically as well. Treyvion Brown, outside linebacker, 6'3", 215, from Moreno Valley, California, went to Linfield Christian. Has played a variety of positions, but we like him as an outside linebacker, and a fast rush guy that plays on space as well. Gunnar Cruz, quarterback, 6'4", 215, probably bigger than that, because he's grown in this recruiting process. He's probably bigger than that. He's from Castile High School in Gilbert, Arizona, and he comes he'll be here in January. Mayaki Fafita, offensive lineman, 6'5", 240, from Snohomish, Washington, went to Glacier Park. Huge frame, very aggressive, plays mean. Tyler Gray Harris, defensive lineman, 6'5", 230, from Oakland, California, went to Bishop O'Dowd. Big, strong, long-levered defensive lineman, moves well as well, emphasis on speed as usual. Connor Gomez, offensive lineman, 6'4", 270, from Fresno, California, went to San Joaquin Memorial. Big offensive lineman, plays aggressive. Gatlin Grisso, defensive back, 6 feet, 185, Aubrey, Texas, went to Aubrey High School. Great hips, moves around, tracks the ball well. He'll be here at semester. Daniel Isom, cornerback, 5'10", 180, St. Louis, Missouri. Went to St. Louis University High and Western Community College. Real productive player, kind of a mature kid that made his presence known early out there on the field before he transferred. His dad is the former chief of police in St. Louis, so very impressive family there. He'll be here at semester. Rocky Katawaga, linebacker, 6'2", 205, Oceanside, California, went to El Camino. He'll be here at semester, and he's got 3 to play 2, and a big frame, and also an aggressive linebacker. Kosmas now we got of all the years, this may be the toughest as far as pronouncing names. Kosmas Kawiti, defensive line, 6'3", 220, From Phoenix, went to Central. Let's see, Pene Nualu, linebacker, 6'1", 210. Went to Kapolei High School in Hawaii, and you know, just the typical linebacker guy that we have that's fast, aggressive, had a lot of schools on him, but we were lucky enough to make him a Coug. Donovan Ollie, wide receiver, 6'3", probably maybe taller than that, and he may weigh more than 205. He went to Wiley High School in Wiley, Texas. Very mature, strong at going up to get the ball, also runs with it well after he catches it. And then Billy Pospisil, wide receiver, 5'11", 190, from Arvada, Colorado, went to Pomona High School, was a teammate with Max Borghi. Billy will be here in January as well. Inside receiver, great change of direction. Simon Samarzic, long snapper. I think the best long snapper in the country, 6 feet, 200, from Upland, California, went to Upland High School. Jameer Thomas, running back, 6'1", 215, from Maslin, Ohio, went to Washington High School. And his strength coach there, incidentally, is Coach Oviatt. Coach Oviatt, I worked with him at University of Kentucky, and of course he coached here for a while. Let's see, and then Patrick Utsachinsky, offensive lineman, 6'7", 280, huge frame, from Walla Walla, Washington, went to Walla Walla High School. And then Derek Langford, tall corner. Derek's 6'2", 190, went to San Francisco City College. He's 4 for 3, and he'll be here in January. So we're very proud of this class. We're honored to have the chance to coach them, and looking forward to getting them up here and fully integrating them into the Coug program. Any questions?
Do you think this year is more successful than last year as far as the early signing period? I know you said you guys are more comfortable with it now. Do you think this class was more successful because of having the extra year to get adjusted to it?
Well, I think there's some getting adjusted to it. I think all schools are going through a little bit of that. I also think the prospects are getting used to it as well, so that could have played a role. But I did feel like as good as the class was last year, which I thought was a good one, I think this one's an even better one.
Was the defensive secondary kind of the top priority for you guys this time around?
Yeah, secondary. I would say secondary, D-line and O-line.
Did you guys also just want to get taller with some of the guys you brought in, 6'2", 6'3", taller corners, taller safeties?
Yeah, if you can. They have to be able to turn their hips still. You know, I think if you want to go as tall as you can, but if they can't, if they can't get out of their cuts and if they can't move their hips, then you go as small as you have to till they still can.
Obviously, you have some great receivers on your team, and you have Pospisil coming in. A lot of people are talking about he's similar to Craig Kraft or Kyle Sweet. What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, he's similar to that. He's built similar to him, and his the game he plays is similar to that, kind of inside and underneath, quick little routes and runs with it after he catches it.
Second year around of this early signing period, what are your impressions? Do you like it more than you might have thought about it last year?
It's great in January. In January, it's great, and then also you have some time to make some headway on the next recruiting class. It's pretty jammed in December, between coaching the season, recruiting, and then of course preparing for the bowl. It's a busy period. There's no question about that.
Are you seeing more players wanting to enroll early every year? I think you guys have, looks like 6, kind of up from last year, and it seems like that's becoming more of a trend in college football.
I think this is the most that we've ever had, and I have us down, and I'll defer to you, but I have us down for 7, and that'd be the most I've ever had, counting Langford.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, that'd be the most I believe that I've ever had.
And then can you talk a little bit more about Gunner? Do you think he'll have a chance to, I mean, he's just a freshman, but do you think he'll have a chance to come in and compete for the jobs?
We'll know a lot more on that in spring. We'll have a lot better idea of that in spring, you know, and one of the biggest keys there is that he adjusts quickly.
So with 19 official now, do you plan to, what's kind of the plan going forward for January ahead of the February signing day?
Well, and we have a couple scholarships that, which I think is good, because between guys that don't get signed today, and between guys that don't get signed today, and then, you know, anybody that transfers, that type of thing, you know, then we have some flexibility there too, which I think is good.
Do you now start to more target overall top players rather than look at individual position groups going forward, kind of this next month, and just kind of look for the best players you can find out there?
Sometimes, but you know, as you identify a need, you try to fill that. But yeah, you try to look for difference makers.
And what did you think of Kosmas Kawiti's story? I'm sure you heard that he was a refugee in Zimbabwe before he came here, and it seems like he's kind of been through a ton, and a pretty neat opportunity for him.
Yeah, he definitely has, and I think he's really adjusted to things quickly. You know, does a good job in the classroom, is a very motivated guy that's had a lot of, you know, distractions in the process, and I think that's all the more impressive, and speaks to his character as far as, you know, able to overcome adversity and meet challenges.
What's kind of your impression on the way that high school players are given stars? Because I know there's an article I read about the state of Washington. High school kids are getting more recognition than they have in the past. I know, you know, you've turned guys that are 2, 3 stars into guys that have, you know.
Well, stars are artificial on its face. I mean, that's, you know, you got recruiting services and media bases and stuff that assign these stars. And I don't recall ever calling, in my entire career, which probably is nearly 30 years now, maybe even more, I don't recall ever calling any of those individuals and asking them what I should run on third down. So I certainly don't ask them who can play, because if I thought that they knew exactly who could play, they'd be invited to our staff meetings and given an opportunity to walk us through evaluations and tell us who we should recruit. And although there are those that attempt to do that, we find that it's the better approach is to think independently and recruit the guys that we feel the best about. I mean, some of that's a little bit like saying, you know, if I live next door to a doctor, then I ought to be able to do surgery, you know. And so next time you guys need an operation, somewhere in my neighborhood's a doctor, come to me and I'll go ahead and do the surgery, and we'll see how that turns out. And I'm pretty optimistic about it. I don't know about you.
Any questions on the phone line for Coach?
Mike, have you had anybody that you could compare Gunnar Cruz to in the past?
It's always hard to compare these guys because they're always, you know, they've got a lot of individual qualities that, and that's one thing that I think is pretty important at the quarterback position is you got to kind of be yourself and do it your way. And a guy that's good at being themselves, I think, is a more productive player. So I've always found the comparisons difficult. But he's a big, tall, strong guy. Shoot, let me think. Big, tall, strong guy. Reminds me some of a guy I recruited at the University of Oklahoma named Nate Hibble. But I think that well, I think also reminds me of a guy named Lance Funderburk that we had at Valdosta State that was a very good quarterback. You know, he's bigger than most of them that I've had, and it's also got some mobility and a real strong arm. and then, but the personality as far as, how that generates performance for the overall unit, I think, is a very big part of it. I mean, he can do all the stuff. I mean, he's bigger than most that I've recruited. He's got a stronger arm than most, yet still has good feet. But he's an extremely talented guy, and then and we're excited to watch him as he comes out to lead the unit.
Coach, a couple of guys who have committed to the program who haven't signed yet. Are you still hoping to sign? Those guys will sign?
Well, we can't talk about anybody unless they've signed. So I'd say it's a combination of moved on. In most cases, I'd say we'd moved on, but also, there is kind of a numbers game to this thing. We were hopeful that we would have some open scholarships going into January, even though we had a certain, a number of commitments that pretty well filled them up. But felt like there'd be some attrition, as there is with everybody, but I think it turned out quite well because we have about 3 scholarships left, and I think that's about the right number.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on the phone line for Coach? Okay, and back in the room.
Just going into homes this year, could you tell more people were more aware of what you guys have been doing here, given the success, 10 wins, and College Game Day being ranked in the top 10? Do you think more people are kind of nationally aware of what this program is doing right now?
I think that impacted it some. I mean, I would guess. It's hard for me to gauge that, but I also think that, going to a number of bowls, year after year, and then also, having, stringing together a number of successful seasons, I think adds to it too. I think it kind of illustrates a really solid foundation of a program that continues to get better.
Have you guys started to take a different approach recruiting offensive linemen under Mason with kind of more projectable guys that don't necessarily have the weight but are pretty tall and people who can kind of grow into bodies once they get here?
Well, we've always done some of that. I mean, that's, the best current example of that really is Andre Dillard, it's always, you can't make a guy taller, but if they've got a good frame, I mean, they'll nearly always get heavier, so.
Do you have any memorable home visits or good meals or anything you can share with us?
Yeah, the meals, and of course, we're not even into January yet, but the meals have been outstanding. One after the next. Not really memorable, just overall extremely high quality stuff. And then I'm just trying to think. I wish I had a good one for you. I don't. You find yourself eating a lot of beef on these things, though. Yeah.
Any other questions for Coach?
Did you happen to do a home visit with Penny?
No, probably in January. Because some of them, that's the other thing that happens is with the numbers of them as they are, there's a certain number that will sign, but you'll go visit the family in January.
Is it right that Jameer Thomas hadn't visited here and he was injured and didn't have a chance to come here and kind of sign with you guys without really seeing Pullman and the campus here?
Golly. Yes, that is accurate. That is accurate. Yes, it is. And then and he'll come visit in January.
Did you play rugby at BYU?
Yes.
There was a player, Fafita, his dad played rugby at BYU. It says on the sheet here, I don't know if you...
I wonder if that's the same one. Hang on. We better check that one out.
He played in college, but he passed away a couple years ago.
What? Do you have a first name?
Yes,
2.
Golly. You know, I wonder. Because I definitely, there was a guy named Daniel Fafita that I played rugby with, a great guy. We called him Colmani, and I can't remember why. But just a great guy, always happy and bouncing around. And I'm not sure, I would be surprised if it's not at least in the same family, but I don't know if it's the same individual.
You guys have recruited a few kind of former rugby players with Kosmas and Misi on campus right now. Do you think those guys generally turn into pretty good football players?
Well, they run well. They run a lot, you know. So, and I think soccer, to a degree, does some of the same things because you have to run a variety of directions. You have to come out of your cuts, and you know, and it's ongoing. And so, yeah, I have felt like there's been pretty good crossover. And then the other thing is nearly every one of the Polynesian players that we've had have some rugby experience. And as a matter of fact, one time, oh shoot, who was it? I'm trying to think. One time Hercules told me, so Hercules is like a nationally recognized wrestler. I go, why'd you quit wrestling? He says, you know, I wasn't really into wrestling. I was more into football, and then plus I wanted to play rugby with all my friends after school. So, and you'd see him like in Maui, like if you ever go there, if you're in Lahaina, you go by that field, they're playing rugby out there every night, you know.
Anything else for Coach?
There's like, I think about 6 players that are going to be joining the team early or for spring. And I was wondering how that benefits the players that can come in early.
It almost always helps. The one time the time it doesn't is if they want to stay in high school and they're geared to stay in high school and want to do the whole all for one for all senior thing, and then prom, then they need to stay in high school, you know, because you can't be here wishing you were there. I don't think that's productive. Then you're better off coming in June. But I do think that, you know, they get bigger and stronger. They all end up having to work harder than they thought they were able to, because, you know, you've got guys here that have run, conditioned, and lifted for, you know, up to 5 years that are in awfully good shape. But, of course, those guys didn't start the way they are now. And then sometimes a guy in high school comes in, feels like he's in pretty good shape, and discovers what good shape actually is. And then kind of like basketball, right? And then they discover what good shape actually is, but it does get them adjusted. I think it can also help them academically. And then, you know, because there's less freshmen to really focus on, and you can kind of lock in there, and then they still, of course, get summer school. And then you get spring ball, you know, to evaluate them. They get a quick gauge of where they're at and what they have to work on in the summer. And I think that can be a clearer picture for them.
The emphasis on junior college defensive backs, I think there's 3 of them. Is that kind of just knowing that you're going to have 2 corners leaving and have a few kind of spots to fill next season?
Well, we have 2 corners leaving. We're lucky enough to get some tall guys that we felt like ran well enough. And then also we've had some success, you know, with junior college DBs with Shalom and Robert Taylor.
You guys
And
good?
Treyvion, yeah.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.